Hi and welcome to the introduction and instruction of the UI scroll top. Again, you can find this element under third party. So the scroll top is just a fixed position element, an arrow that will be placed on your page aligned either to the right, center or left. And when clicking on it, it will take you smoothly back up to the top of your page. So let's add the element on the page. And by default, in the editor you will always have a placeholder box which will allow you to easily access the settings. This box, however, won't be visible on your live site and won't be taking up any space either. So by clicking on it, you can see the settings appear. So first of all, you would maybe want to change the arrows. So let's go and have a look at the arrows available for our use. So you can see here there is a wide selection of arrows. So when you click on it, you can see the preview right here. If you want to see your preview on a dark background, you can change it by clicking on one of those buttons. If you want to revert it to a light background, you change it back. So for example, let's take this arrow. We're happy with the arrow. So next thing we need to do is we need to click on save. We click on save, and once that's finished, you can click on done. And now when you scroll down, you can see that our arrow here, it is appearing. For the next settings, it's some pretty obvious things, of course. You can change the arrow color, right now set to white. The arrow size, just like any font, it's a value in pixels. And then you can change the arrow for color for hover as well. So let's, for example, change it to a dark color. Now I must say that it is not always working right here inside of the editor, but it will work a lot smoother on your live page. But you can see our arrow on the right bottom here. It has been turned to black, a darker color on hover. So next you can choose your width and height of the box. Currently set at 35 pixels. You can set this one to 55, for example, and then you will see that your box becomes a rectangular instead of squared. You can choose the background and the border color, the border width. If you don't want any border at all, you can change this value to 0, of course, from the border width. The border radius, if you would like to have a rounded arrow, the only thing you need to do is make sure that you first start off with a rectangular shape so that your width and your height values are equal, and then to the border radius, and let's set that to 50, for example, should be enough to make it nicely rounded. And you can see now we have a round button. For the opacity, it is set by default at 10, so it's fully opaque. If you lower this number, it will become more transparent. Then we have a background hover color, which is set to white by default, but you can change it to any color you'd like, and also a border color. The border color on hover will only work if there is a border set, of course, for the normal state. And the border radius, this will also be animating. Right now we have a rounded shape, but as you can see, if we hover our arrow, then our border becomes 2 pixels instead of the 50 we previously gave for the normal state. So if you want to keep that rounded as well on hover, the only thing you need to do is change this value to the same value you gave it for the normal state. You can add some additional opacity on hover as well, and the transition speed, so all of your effects will take place on a specific amount of time. This value is in milliseconds. Next, you can align your icon, your arrow actually, to the center or to the left, and then of course you can choose the offset from the bottom. Increasing this value will move it from the bottom upwards, and from the side it will move it from either the left or the right side, depending on where you aligned it. This won't be affected when your arrow is center line, of course. Next thing, arrow display. So fading arrow after pixels. This value is set to 500. You can lower this or set it even higher. This will require the amount of pixels the user need to scroll before the arrow will fade in. So in this case 500 pixels. If you want the arrow to be always visible, you can just toggle on this one, and I should have used that before, because like this we can easily show the offset, of course. So the offset from the bottom, let's set it to 50, and now you can see that it moved up 50 pixels. And the offset from the side, that's also set it to 50, so you can clearly see how it moved inwards to our page. Next thing is you can specify the scroll speed. So let's set it to a high value, for example 2000, which would be 2 seconds. And next you got a long list of available effects. Feel free to play around with it and take the one you like most. So let's have a quick look at the live side. And like this we can have a look at what the effect of 2000 milliseconds is. You can see it goes really slow because it takes 2 seconds to scroll up.